Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you are all well. Just ignore any noises in the background. Where I live, there's loads of children outside playing, so you may hear some screaming and just noises and things like that. Can't be helped. I just had a shower, so I'm all fluffy and clean, and yeah, I just was like, let's just share some of my memories, my Milab memories. And as I mentioned before, a lot of my memories, sometimes I get the full memory of what it was I was, whatever task or order I was given, again through mind control when my alters are triggered. So what you see here is me, you know, when I'm having these experiences, when I'm put on these missions, given these tasks, it's not me as in, hey, it's my alters. Many of you know, perhaps you are in my lab, that we have alters and we have clones. And the idea of clones doesn't sound so far-fetched and crazy these days. We know that it's even mentioned in the Epstein files. Yes, clones are real, they're everywhere, and they've always been here, always. In fact, many of you know, or if you don't know, you'll come into some information eventually, whether you believe in it or not, that there are many people, high profile people as well, governmental people, people in powers of positions of power, they have clones. So, yeah, going back to what I was saying earlier. So when I get my memories again, sometimes I get a full memory. So I know from A to Z what type of mission or task I've been given, the purpose of it. Don't always know who's controlling me or who's sent me on that mission. Yeah, we don't get that memory. So, and other times I just get memories that don't make sense. So, and I feel, and I've got a lot of them, guys. I think that's why I've been a bit quiet on my channel as well, because I'm just thinking, like, what is that? How is that going to help anyone? It's not really important information. That's what I believe. It's not really relevant. It's not important. And so I'm often torn, because I do want to encourage others to come forward and share their memories, no matter how big or small or how much it makes sense or how much it doesn't. Because I think eventually, because there's so many others out there, by the way, that are being controlled, that are Milabs and have no idea. And I do believe eventually people are going to start realising that their visions, their dream memories, their real-time memories, because oftentimes we're dropped into our bed, our consciousness is dropped back into our bodies. Or our physical bodies are dropped back into our beds. There's many ways they take us, but oftentimes they take our consciousness. They don't really need this body, although they have taken this body, usually for purposes of, give me ultimatums, threats and things like that, okay? But a lot of the time, they take our astral bodies. They take our consciousness. If you ever watched that movie, and I think it's called Inception, I think I've mentioned it before in another video, even if they take in our astral bodies and our consciousness, sometimes they take us in the same dimension, the dimension we're in now, right? Sometimes they take us, and when I say they, I mean, the Milabs, those, the deep black military, the 3-letter agency, all of them. MI5 as well, that go by MI6. But I do believe MI5 still exists, but I don't know, perhaps they've gone by a different name. Perhaps they have gone by MI6. I don't know, it's all confusing sometimes, guys. I try and figuring it out myself. But, we're not bound to our bodies. A lot of the time we think we're going to sleep and we're not. We are traveling to so many alternate realities, and that's another thing as well. Some of these visions, some of these memories may not even be from this timeline, may not even be from this dimension, and may be from alternate realities. But these groups have the technology to put us into these alternate realities, to put us in the past and the future, into other dimensions, and getting us doing their dirty work, their whatever, their bidding under mind control. We don't want to do what we've been made to do. It's completely out of our control. We don't realise we've done it until we've come back or we have these memories, but it's already done. So we're all slaves. So yeah, they have advanced technologies. Many of you know, many of you know this. You see enough channels that explain this. And so, because of course, they're very, very secretive. They have to be very careful. They can't leave a trail or a trace, right? And they've got the technology to just take us out of our body and place us in clones and then put us on missions, giving us tasks, orders. And I've experienced many types of things, but there's so many of us. I believe in the millions, guys. So many people are aware of this, of course, through their own experiences, that we are being used. We are so vulnerable when we are asleep. And, I do protect my energy. I do set intentions. I do clear my energies, but it doesn't prevent them from taking my consciousness and taking my mind, whatever, my astral body, or physically taking me. It hasn't prevented them. And I'm not saying this to scare anyone or disempower anyone. I'm just a realist. This is how it is. This is just showing you this is how much control and power they have. But I keep fighting, I keep reaching out to the right people, and I'm having people help me clear my energy, not erase, but, have my contracts revoked. And so, we do try and help ourselves, we really do. But my point is, there's so many of us. There's millions of us, I believe. And we're frigging assassins. We're involved in espionage. We're spies. We are, I hate to say it, but, sleeper cells. Some of us live normal lives and have no idea that they've been taken from their body, and they're going around and they're killing, for instance, like Middle Eastern men. That's one of my missions memories. In fact, yeah, I was with someone who I've been on missions with many times. I won't give the name, not that it matters, you don't know the person anyway. But in case they ever see this channel, I don't want them to, But there's someone in my personal life that I always felt drawn to and connected to. There was this strong magnetic energy between us, okay? And oftentimes, my labs, we do gravitate towards each other in our personal lives. And there's that strong energy. And a lot of us can mistaken that for soulmate energy, right? Twin flame energy, love, something. I do care for this person so much. But it's not any of, it could be, but it's not any of that. It's something more. But at the time I couldn't understand. It was very confusing. I felt strongly drawn to her, and she felt the same with me, but we could never hit it off the ground. Meaning relationship, there was always something that was messing with me, preventing us to, go down that line and venture into having a romantic relationship. And we've crossed each other's paths a few times, and at important times in my life as well. But anyway, just quickly, because I'm rambling on. So the other year, I started having memories of me and her wearing typical black ops, right, gear, all black gear, and I've got the chills, and as I talk about this. And either prior or after our missions, we were kind of side by side with other people, faces I don't recognise. And we actually do say in these experiences, we're going to give it a go. We're going to try and see if we can, make it work, in our personal lives. And sometimes she will, but she doesn't have any memories, I guess, because I guess maybe it's another altar or something. It's things that I'm going to see you soon. We're gonna be together and things like that. Of course, it never happens. We're not talking now. She's doing her own thing, and that's fine. But yeah, it's not unusual for my labs to end up being in relationships. It's very common, in fact. Either whilst we're on mission, like mission buddies, when we're working together, or again we gravitate towards each other in our personal lives and end up having a romantic relationship. But anyway, as it turns out, with this woman, I've had many memories of us being in alternate realities, again doing what we're doing now, being used as my labs. So on a soul level, I've known her for a very, very long time, and I believe she's not doesn't originally originate from Earth like me. She's just here and haven't been used and had many lives like myself. So yeah, often prior or after our missions together again, it's usually like, sniper type missions, taking out, if you like, the bad guys. But I don't even believe they're always the bad guys. We're told at that time that, they're the enemies. We've been given the task and we're there and we're usually hiding on top of buildings and we're just taking out whoever we've been ordered to take out. And in those memories, I don't ever feel, my altar, I don't ever feel any remorse. I feel like I'm doing a good thing, right? Again, mind control. But I started to realise and remember in these missions, it's like my altars are bleeding in, or me, I'm bleeding in through that altar. And then I start feeling like, those emotions, that shame, that remorse, that we're being, I was going to swear now, guys, we're being fucking used, So I get snippets of memories like this, and I have memories of looking at my partner. And I've had many partners, meaning mission partners, not romantic partners, again with this woman. When we've just got that strong energy. I guess it's trauma bonding, that's what it is. Yeah, Milabs, they trauma bonders, and that's why we have that strong magnetic energy towards one another. They don't like it when we come into, when we find each other in our personal lives. And so if we do, 9 times out of 10, they will, you know what I mean, guys, when I say they, I don't want to have to keep repeating the 3-letter agency in the Milabs, you know what I mean. They will cause us to self-sabotage or sabotage that connection, yet we still got this, it's almost like a twin flame connection, but it's not quite a twin flame connection, and oftentimes we're mistaken that again, oftentimes Milabs, we end up being in a false twin flame relationship or the twin flame trap journey, right? I've been caught up in that a few times. I will share my experiences one day on that. But I don't believe she was a twin flame, although, well, I don't know 100%, but that's what it felt. But perhaps that's what they want us to believe, right? Again, it's that trauma bond, which they want us when we're on missions together and doing tasks, but in our personal lives, of course, they don't want that. They will prevent that, because also they know if we come together, we're going to start remembering more, helping each other more. So they don't want that. They only want us to have, a bond, whether that be romantic or not, or platonic, on these missions, right? Because when we have that bond, whether through trauma, we make a good team. But in our personal lives, no, they don't want that. In fact, I met many Milabs that I've worked with that are actually in my personal lives in the platonic sense. Get your words out, Zoe. We're friends and things like that, and there's not any romantic ties or any energy like that. A lot of Milabs are under the LGBTQ whatever plus umbrella as well, which is very interesting. So yeah, or they go both ways. No judgment at all. I just want to throw that in because yeah, it's just something I've noticed. So yeah, where do I want to go from here? So I've been putting it off sharing, a lot of the stuff, because there's a lot of things I haven't shared. And I guess a lot of it is because I just feel uncomfortable. Like, how is it going to help anyone? No one wants to really sit there and listen to someone like me talk about themselves, right? Some do, some don't. And I don't want to come across as, oh, look at me. I see this, unfortunately, a lot with the Milab community. They put themselves on a pedestal, and I'm the saviour, I'm the hero, I'm this and I'm that, and they love it. They love the attention. And it's all you want to believe, guys. I don't like that. Personally, I don't like that. I don't like being in the limelight. This is why I keep myself small. I keep my channel small. I don't hang around with other people in those communities. Yes, I've been on channels and stuff, but you know, I'm quite private. I don't like that attention, but I've had this pull, this, I can't even explain it, but some part of me, call it my higher self, my purpose, my mission for being here, feels that this is what I should be doing. And I'm back and forth in my head, because I'm like, if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, then why is my channel so heavily targeted? Well, I guess that makes sense why it's going to be targeted, isn't it? Of course. They don't want, meaning they, you know who I mean, they don't want us to have memories. They don't want us to share our experiences. Even if it is just a little bit of information, even if it is just a few little puzzles that don't make sense, right? They know eventually that someone out there, some of us are going to have the other side, the other half of those puzzles, and we see it a lot, right? People coming together and they're having the same memories, they're putting their puzzles together and it creates a picture, and they realise, oh my god, I've been working with you and we was on this mission and this and that. So they do isolate us. I am prone to self-sabotaging. Again, it's trauma. Again, it's feeling not good enough. It's not feeling important. It's not, it's a mix, guys. It is a mix, and it's them as well. It's programs. It's and they're not always there, by the way. It comes and goes. They can mess with us remotely, energetically, with frequencies. They can mess with our minds. They can make us feel and think and believe a certain way. Now, at the minute, is it trauma, unhealed trauma, that's making me feel like this, preventing me from wanting to share things? Or is it them? I can't always tell, but I'm not usually like this. But that's where I'm at the minute. I just feel like I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting your time. I'm just sitting here sharing things, and I feel it's not really going to help anyone. And this isn't me feeling sorry for myself, guys. I guess I am, but when you're in that energy, but I don't want people to see me as like, oh, look at her feeling sorry for herself, get the violins out. I don't want any, I don't want that attention. So I'm just being honest, guys. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't feel that I play a big enough role in helping you guys. So I may be quiet for a little while until I feel like me again, until something's shifted within me and I feel good again, or somewhat good, This wasn't a planned video. I was just in the shower and I was like, I'm just going to share it. I'm just going to share what's going on with me and how I'm feeling. And I guess to show you that how not all my labs are like, oh, look at me. I've got to be on everyone's channel. I've got to make books. I've got to put myself out there and go to all these conferences. And I'm not, that's good that they do that. But because, they're getting themselves out there, right? They're getting their information out there. But, a lot of them are in it for the wrong reasons, right? Ego, because they want that attention. It's like, look at me, I'm the hero. Look at me, I'm this and that. Again, I'm not like that. So I struggle with my channel. There's a lot of things that I want to share, but I'm not ready to share. And a lot of it is just like, what's the point? What is the point? Because, I don't see it really helping many people. I don't know. That's just where I'm at. But anyway, let's move on. So I wanted to actually share, again, it's not very helpful, and many of you just think I'm talking crazy. It's nothing but, I don't know, whatever, visions, imagination, dreams, whatever, everyone's entitled to their own thoughts and feelings. And because there's not much really detail in these memories, I don't know. I'm at the point where I kind of just don't really care what people think. Excuse me, guys. Just see it as entertainment. I'm kind of getting to that point. I just see it as entertainment. If you want to take something away from it, it's entertaining. That's kind of where I'm at the minute. So, yes. Let's get into it. So, I have memories. And these were real-time memories, guys, and then I was kind of dropped back off. Again, I was in one of my clones, identical to me in this experience. And I was at Buckingham Palace. And I remember walking through the hallways, the grand hallways, seeing the floral carpet, all the large pictures that they have, the typical decor that they have. Anyway, it's not relevant, but relevant, sorry. Anyway, so I am walking into this huge hall with wooden floors. It was huge, guys, and there were lines and lines of tables. And there were just people. There were so many people there. I remember looking outside. There was these tall, long windows and looking outside onto the gardens. And it was, luscious green trees. The sun was blaring. So obviously it must have been summertime. And I hear footsteps. Obviously I'm looking around, taking it all in. And I turn and I see Charles. And he walks up to me. This isn't a recent memory, guys, experience. This was years ago. And he walks up to me and he's got big smiley eyes, and I look at him, and he shakes my hand, and there was this mutual respect. Just want to quickly say, guys, I don't worship hierarchy. I despise hierarchy. I don't like the royal family. I don't like anyone in positions of power, especially those that are part of an agenda or are not nice people or have done bad things. Okay, I just want to say, never interested me. Never interested me. I just wanted to be small, in my own lane, do my own thing, stay out of the limelight. Didn't want to be popular. I didn't want any of that. But anyway, in this experience, there was this mutual respect. Again, one of my altars. But what I got through my altar was, it was fake from my half. It was fake. I was there to basically collect information, intel. It was like my eyes were being used as a camera to get information, get evidence or something. That's what I felt. And so I had to put on a fake persona and mask and just not be fazed by what was happening around me. And I had to really act and not give any fear or emotions or anything like that. Masking is something that I'm an expert at. And in fact, interestingly enough, those, especially Milabs that in their personal lives have been diagnosed with ADHD, I always knew I was ADHD. I never had a formal diagnosis until, in fact, only just a few days ago. I have been diagnosed with combined hyperactivity and inattentive ADHD, rejection, sensitive dysphoria or something like that, and autism. So yeah. So the reason why I mention that is because those like myself that have these diagnoses, and it's all it is just a label diagnosis. There are a real true meaning behind that, which I think I did a video on. But anyway, we're amazing at pattern recognition. So they're kind of super abilities that the governments have come up with a label, stamp ADHD, autism, this and that. And you'll find that many, I'm going to use the word, guys, I don't particularly like it, but we often hear the chosen ones, right? The star seeds, the light workers, the empaths, the earth angels, again, labels, there's so many labels. But 9 times out of 10, these individuals, me being one of them, have autism or ADHD, ADD, combined ADHD. We often get diagnosed with, is it the other one, Asperger's? No, that's not. I can't remember, guys. But anyway, it's very common that we have those. We get diagnosed with these things. Often we get misdiagnosed of having other things, and I always knew my previous diagnosis was not, it didn't feel right. And anyway, now that's off my record because now I have the correct diagnosis. But anyway, the reason why, again, I'm sorry if I'm, again, ADHD. And I need to start doing that because I know that drives people up the wall. But I'm scatty mind, I have brain fog, I'm here, there and everywhere, I lose my train of thought. Like, I have it real bad, guys. And, you know, I see a lot of people like, you know, like, oh, it's like talking about it like it's something to be proud of, like it's a trend, like it's, look at me, ooh, like, again, I just, I don't agree with that. But I have to mention it every now and again so you understand why I'm the way I am. And I guess I shouldn't have to explain why I'm the way I am. I am because I am who I am. Anyway, so we have great pattern recognition. We're great at masking and some other things. And so, yeah, again, many Milabs, whether diagnosed or undiagnosed, have these traits and symptoms. I guess it's part of because of the soul, the frequency and vibration of who we really are. And we struggle down here in a human body. Our brains are too fast, right? Our mouths can't keep up with what we've got to say. We're tuned into different frequencies, vibrations, information all at once. And so we appear as ungrounded, scatty, inattentive, distracted, you know, and things like that. And then, you know, there's other reasons as well. I believe, especially if you have ADHD and you're in Milab, I do believe that it's part of the trauma as well. Yeah, the trauma, it's kind of done something to us. But again, you know, I feel that, you know, we have certain abilities that are of interest to these groups that take us, right? So I've always been this way. I've always had, all the signs were there, you know. Again, autistic, didn't speak till I was 8, 9, you know. All the signs were there. My mum just didn't think to, oh, let's go and get Zoe assessed and see if she's got, I don't know, ADHD. Because back in the 80s or the early 90s, and for a long time, we were just labelled as naughty children, right? But anyway, better late than never. So anyway, yeah, so we possess certain abilities, if you like, that these groups use and utilize and weaponize and things like that. So like I say, we're very, especially if you've got autism, we don't miss a trick. I'm not saying we're always right, but we're very tuned in, we read between the lines, we can often predict things and bring things to the light to people around us, that it's like we're 10 steps ahead, right? Spiritually, energetically, psychically, frequency, whatever. It's like we see things ahead of time. We see things. We can easily put patterns together, and we notice things that the normal average person doesn't usually notice, at least right away. And so, yeah, so again, it's very common for Milabs and starseeds to have, you know, these that diagnosis. And in fact, as I mentioned before, a lot of starseeds, envoys, light workers, walk-ins, whatever, you know, you want to call yourself, are in these Milab programs because of the way our mind works, because of these abilities, because of how we can see through, quite literally, the BS, the illusions and things like that. So oftentimes when we were kids, we did question things, you know, what's this, what's that, what's the meaning of this, you know, we just felt and knew that something wasn't right about this reality. And then of course, before you know it, oh, you're diagnosed with X, Y, and Z, and so on and forth. But anyway, as I usually do, I've gone off, digressed, but let's get back to what I was saying. So yeah, so I was clearly acting, I was masking, I was undercover, and he didn't suspect that I was. And I got the impression that that wasn't the first time I met Charles. Like I was, it's like I was there. I've been there many times. That we were like friends, right? That's what he believed. Anyway, and he was very polite, you know. He said, would you like a drink? And I remember looking around on these tables. Again, there were just lines of tables and chairs, and there were all these people. And they were all sat at the tables, and they had what looked like red wine. And then there were plates, and there was some kind of meat. on the plates. And I knew what kind of meat they were eating. It wasn't beef, although it looked like beef. And he said, would you care to sit with us and join us? We're just about to have some food. And then he said, we're having human steak. It's funny, he said the word steak, but he said human steak. And he was going on about how it was a delicacy or something, how it's tender, and how he carefully picked the meat, and what was happening in the hall was a special occasion. It was like a ritual type get together, if you like. Certain people in powers, those in governments, parliaments, his friends, it was like something they did once a year. I don't remember him giving me the name of this specific event, but it was just very clear, he said it's something they do once a year. So again, I wasn't shocked, I wasn't surprised. It's not the first time I've had these experiences where I've been around these people and I've seen young people either deceased or being taken out. And this is another reason why I don't share a lot of my memories and experiences, because it involves a lot of that. And they're just normal. They're just hanging around. They're laughing, they're joking, they're having a drink. It's just like as normal as you and I, right, in the kitchen, basting a chicken and having a conversation. So how was your day been? Just this was completely normal to them. But anyway, of course I declined. I went, no, thank you. I said, I've just actually eaten. I don't want any steak. He just kind of smiled, and then he took me on a little tour. And I just remember, it was like my eyes were like cameras, and I was just looking around and recording everything. And that's another thing with me as well. I don't know if it's anything to do with the autism or the ADHD, and I say that because, again, it's just a label that they put on people like me, because we have abilities, tools, different ways of seeing things, and but anyway, now I've lost my train of thought, guys, so bear with. So yeah, I was just scanning around the room. That was it. Yeah. So of photographic memory, I have amazing photographic memory. I'm very visual like that. I remember more with visuals, images, rather than words and things. So yeah. So again, I was taking in the surroundings and things like that. So I kind of got that I was there because I knew that, or they knew, those that gave me this mission task, they knew that this event on this particular day was going to happen, and they just wanted me to be in there, again, undercover, just to kind of record everything that was happening. And I remember asking questions like, where's that door lead to? Or just asking, questions more out of pretending to be out of just interest, really, like, got to flatter the, you've got to inflate their ego, which they love, a compliment on the decor or the artwork, or, anything that involves them, they're loving it. They sap it up, right? So I was just, giving him some of that. And then I mentioned tunnels to him. And he says, oh, yes. He says, yeah. He says, would you like me to show you the tunnels and stuff like that? Like, it was so bizarre. And I was like, yeah, actually. Yeah. And so he took me on a tour. I don't really remember seeing much of the tunnels. I just remember seeing a door that it kind of looked like a normal door, but it wasn't. And it opened, and then I just see like the steps and the darkness, and I think I was just trying to make conversation and things like that. Anyway, so he takes me outside, and it was a completely different theme to what I'd seen and witnessed on the inside. People sitting there casually eating their human steaks, and I saw people walking around wearing these masks, and it reminds me of that movie Eyes Wide Shut. And they were naked. Men, women, they were naked and wearing these crazy masks. And I just remember feeling this very heavy, dark, almost demonic energy. I felt my chest was heavy. I felt like I couldn't breathe even though I was outside. I felt like all eyes were on me, and it was like these people around me sensed that, I don't know, like I was out of place, like I shouldn't have been there, because my energy, I guess, was different to theirs, right? And I just remember them walking slowly past me, linking arms with their partner, and just looking. I could see them, feel them looking at me. It felt like a spiritual attack. It was so bizarre. And I remember Charles at the side of me, he was just walking casually, and just, oh, what a lovely day, showing me his flowers. And I'm like, it just didn't make sense to me. Again, this is how normal all this was to them. It wasn't like, oh, look at this, look at that. Meaning what the people were doing. It's like, oh, look at the flowers, and I did this, and I did that, it was just very bizarre. And I just remember taking it all in and looking, and there was a lot of kind of like contemporary art type dances there as well. I remember there was a beautiful tree, and there were what appeared to be, it was like a reenactment of Adam and Eve with the apple, and so these were naked, they were wearing masks, there was things, decor hanging from the trees, the woman holding the apple, and they're reenacting the Adam and Eve. We know about the story, right, in the Bible. So that was very interesting. I saw a lot of things like that, and just, people just casually walking around, again, feeling like I don't know, there were times where I was like, oh shit, they know I'm not like them, I guess, or something. But Charles never, either that or he'd got a great poker face, but I never sensed that energy from him. I definitely felt and sensed that, like he trusted me. Yeah, and this is why we put on these jobs with certain people, because we, in a sense, we're deceiving them. But usually they're too caught up in their own world and ego that they don't often think, oh, people are always out to get them as well. That's how detached they are from things, and they're just wrapped up in their own warped world and reality, right? They're a bit sloppy like that, so they are kind of easy, in my experience, to kind of pull the wool over their eyes and trick them and stuff. All you got to do is just entertain them, give them what they want, say what they want to hear, and compliment them and not show any fear. And again, I was very good at that. And I am in my personal life as well. If I need to mask, naturally, because of my ADHD, I naturally mask anyway. So it's not even a case of like, oh, I've got a mask. It just happens naturally. But there are times in my personal life where, let's just say, I'm around someone I can't trust, right? So I will mask. And they have no idea that I can see straight through them, and usually have done right from the get-go, right? And then, of course, I point out certain people's behaviours to people around me, or their intentions, or they're not a good person, they're not who you think they are. Again, wolves in sheep's clothing, personas pretending to be something that they're not. I'm very good at seeing straight through it, and usually 9 times out of 10, eventually time will tell when these people are careless. Their masks will slip, or generally they just don't care, and that can cause confusion when they openly show that side to them, that they don't care, that they have no compassion, that they have no empathy, and that can confuse people around them. Not me, because I can still see and feel into their energy, but people around them will just think, well, she's not hiding anything, he's not hiding anything, they're not hiding anything, that's who they are, right? Often making excuses for their bad behaviour and stuff. But yeah, I don't make excuses. And but anyway, usually these people that are around those types of individuals usually are, followers. I'm not a follower. I'm not, I don't follow people. Usually have low self-esteem, low self-worth. They love the attention. There's numerous reasons why certain individuals hang around with those with not a very nice energy. Those that are fake, false, perhaps display or have narcissistic tendencies. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say on that. But yeah, I often, like I say, I point out these behaviours, I point out patterns, I point out and share my experiences with certain individuals, and oftentimes these people, I call them the flying monkeys, right? Oh, it's just who they are, it's just their personality, again, making excuses for them, and then actually enabling these individuals to be even more of themselves, you know, their inauthentic toxicity selves, toxic selves. We see that, yeah, and a lot of us have experience. But anyway, again, I'm digressing. So yeah, that is all I have of that memory, that experience. Again, I just knew I was there to record. I guess I was being used to record their antics, what they're up to, you know, and things like that, to report back to. Again, I don't know exactly whoever sent me on that particular mission, but I've had loads. There's many instances where, again, I'm around the elites, right? I'm around these people, and oftentimes I don't recognise their faces, but they're in like low position, governmental positions, perhaps parliament, doctors, judges and things like that. You know, there's all kinds of people that attend these types of events. But yeah, a lot of time that's what I'm doing. It's espionage. I'm pretending to be like them, and I've been friends with some certain individuals for a long time, and they have no idea that actually I'm not there to be, you know, I'm kind of there undercover, basically, is what I'm saying, and which is interesting. But anyway, yeah. So again, I'm recording. It's like my eyes are being used just to record, again, information. It's like following them. What are they up to? Where are they going? Who are they with? What are they talking about? You know, and I report back. Now, I had no idea going, you know, years ago. I knew. I mean, I knew that I was being taken. I was being used. I just want to apologise for lighting, guys. It's getting dark. But I had no idea who was taking me. I just knew that a lot of my experiences involved me being around rich, elite, famous people, attending, either being used inappropriately as being a party favour, but that's another story. But a lot of the memories are me and being passed around as well. But a lot of my memories, as I'm getting older, I'm being used, again, espionage, sitting around these tables, witnessing, seeing these elites getting up to no good, having specific conversations, and I'm usually following them, again, pretending to be their friend and stuff like that. But that was a point to that as well, and I've completely forgot. I really am struggling today, guys, so you just have to excuse me. So I want to make sure I haven't missed anything. Oh yeah, of course, yeah. So I knew I was being taken. I just didn't know by who. And I remember years ago, I know I shared it on my channel already, but for those that are newly subscribed, you know, obviously this is for you. So I went inside. I asked myself, my higher self, I need to know who's been taking me. I don't even know why I didn't even think to ask this any sooner, but anyway, better late than never. And I really went with it, and I quieted my mind, and usually I have to sit for a while, right, to get information, but this was like MI5. Heard it in my mind, not my voice, a separate voice, female, completely different accent. And not only did I hear the voice, I saw the letters in black capital letters in my mind's eye, because I have a very strong third eye, so I see things, visuals, very easy, MI5. And I remember, I've got goosebumps now, I remember sitting there and I was just like, I've heard of MI6, but I hadn't heard of MI5. So anyway, I went on Google, MI5, you know, blah, blah, blah. I read up on that. And I was just like, of course. Yes, of course. Why wouldn't it be them? You know, I'm British. MI5 is basically like the version of CIA, if you like. In fact, they work with them as well. Of course, you know, I was like, well, of course, yeah, it makes sense. So, again, many groups have taken me, including the CIA. And so, you know, it's hard to tell who's taken me, what for, you know, who's the good guys, who's the bad guys. I don't believe the good guys are really the good guys, and I believe the bad guys are well, they're the bad guys, right? I don't know. I do believe there are some positive, um, groups or people in there. Maybe I'm just being naive, right? I don't know. But regardless, I'm being used as a double agent by many groups, by many names, because they kind of do. Once you're in the program, you see, once it gets out that, oh, we've got numbers so and so, perhaps going to go by a different name, right? She's amazing. She just did this and did that, did amazing, whatever, and then other companies, groups, agencies are interested, and so it's not unusual for them to be like, well, we want her to work for us, blah blah blah. So again, we are used by many groups, and so yeah, with the MI5, apparently they are kind of like the ones that protect the royal family. So that's interesting. So again, was it the MI5 using me to be there or what? I don't know. Or was it some other group? I really don't know, guys. I wish I knew. It's so frustrating. But anyway, it is what it is. Perhaps maybe in the future I'll come into more information. So anyway, next memory. This actually was not that long ago. Again, not much details, but very interesting. So I was sat in the back of a black car with blackout windows, and I remember the car was moving very slowly, and there was like, typical, there was a man in the front, bald head. I know, very cliche. Always got bald heads, a lot of them, haven't they? These, whatever you want to call them, those that work for the CIA, Men in Black, or whatever. I don't know who I was with. I got the sense it might have been MI5. Anyway, there was this guy, bald head, didn't speak. His energy was very cold, very serious. He wore a black suit, black tie, white shirt. And in this experience, the car was driving up the side of like this. There was like loads of like, it was like a small thin gravel road, and to the left of me there were lots of trees next to one another, which created kind of like a pathway. It was, yeah. I saw Harry jogging basically past these trees, and again, it wasn't me, it was my alter. And my alter was looking at Harry and telepathically connecting to Harry, saying, look at me, I'm here, look at me, look at me, look at me. Harry had some earphones on in his ear. He was listening to music. And it was so weird because I saw Harry, he never turned around once to look at the car. He kind of just like, he seemed quite annoyed. He took off his earphone, or I can't remember, his earphone or headset. I think it was kind of like, anyway, it doesn't matter. He took it off, and he kind of just like stopped running or jogging, sorry, and he was like, oh, and I saw him and he rolled his eyes, and then he jogged to the other side of the car, and to the side that I was sat, and then the electric window went down, and again, yeah, I don't think this bit was telepathy. He looked at me and he went, what? And then I said, oh, you heard me then? And he went, yeah. So he's very, very, very telepathic. Now, I believe he has a strong telepathic connection with his partner as well. In fact, a lot of the royals, they use telepathy, right? A lot of them are hybrids, or they're not even full human. But anyway, he gets into the car, and then the next scene don't make sense, and then we're kind of like at my place, but my place looked different, and we seemed like we'd known each other for a while, like we were almost not friends as in like doing things all the time, going out and stuff, but we did sometimes do that, because I remember him saying, hurry up because I want to get changed, we're going to go for a meal. Excuse me, guys. So yeah, a lot of that didn't make sense. So, the first part is like, I'm there to kind of, I don't know, keep an eye on him, give him a message. I remember me asking about his dad and his brother. I was trying to get information from him and he wouldn't give it me. He just kind of looked at me. It's almost like he knew not to, he wasn't allowed. And he didn't want to as well, because he very much does love his dad. And so there were times where I felt like it was like I was ordered to try to get, again, information off him through his family, about his family, sorry. But he didn't. He was very protective and he very much loves his family, although they have their differences and things like that. But again, out of respect and fear, he didn't provide me any information that I was there to ask him about. Me, I don't like the royal family, but I do have respect for the brothers. I do have compassion, and so I'm annoyed that I'm being used in this way to pry, get information and things like that. I guess espionage, undercover, again, pretending to be an ally, pretending to be someone they can trust. Charles and I don't give two craps about, but I do have respect for the brothers, because I have respect for Diana, and Diana was there. She was not of Earth. She was here on spiritual mission as a starseed, and she was there to help. Just help. She was there to get the truth to the top. She saw things, and of course, many of you know they took her out, and so that was her little spiritual mission, the inside job. So yeah, so again, I wasn't obviously being used by anything good, or I don't know, guys. It doesn't make sense. It's up to you. What you want to believe. And the thing is, it's hard as well when I share my memories and experiences, because in my personal life, because of the very nature of the types of tasks and missions I've been put on, again, under either mind control, or I'm in an altered state, or just simply my other alters that aren't particularly nice that are being used. And, so in my personal life, I have people that don't approach me, don't trust me. Because how can they trust someone like me, right, when I'm on mission, under mind control, in a completely different version of me, being sent out to do bad things. And so yeah, so that's kind of tricky. I've been accused of you're this and you're that in my personal life. I'm a double agent, I'm a mind control, I'm being used in my personal life. Now I'd be aware and I would know if that was happening to me, trust me, because of my memories, right, because of my experiences. I'm kind of left alone in my personal life when they're not using me and taking me. Yes, they mess with me, they mess up relationships, people that are meant to come in my life and help me to remember, to help heal me, to just those that are part of my soul group. Yes, they will come between us and mess things up and use me to sabotage, or quite oftentimes they will bring people in my life who I think I can trust, and sometimes, usually, I feel there's something not right about their energy, but I often give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer until you're certain, and then time will tell, right? They start portraying and displaying certain personality traits, patterns, behaviours doesn't feel right, but they're pretending to be someone you can trust. So a lot of the time, people like me, we have people that are meant to come in, so they'll come in and sabotage, they will come between us, they will mess. And of course, because we are targeted individuals, we often have handlers, or people that are pretending to be friends and people who we can trust when really we can't, and oftentimes, they're used to create smear campaigns, right? So they treat us a certain way, we share our experiences, and then before you know it, we're being accused of slandering and smear campaigning, when really it was started with them. We were defending ourselves, we often got triggered, baited, we hear things, right, about ourselves that aren't true, which causes an emotional reaction response. Again, you defend yourself, you get accused of slandering, and all of that is by design to make us look like we are the bad guys. In our personal lives, that we are not to be trusted. That, especially if we are an influencer, if we have channels and we're sharing our experiences, right? So again, the smear campaigning starts. Now, again, I don't agree with anything that my alters have been mind controlled to do. I don't get on with some of my alters. I don't agree with it. I can't control it, although sometimes in those experiences, this version or another alter will come through and kind of break that mind control, or I can slip in and I can confront with my, let's just say, not very good alter. And to be fair, a lot of the time my alters are made to believe, mind controlled to believe that they are doing something good, that they are on the right side as well, okay? So, we're all messed with. But, but in my personal life, I don't go around hurting people. I defend myself, but, I'm not even going to do that anymore, because at the end of the day, and this is for you guys, if you've been a victim of abuse or someone that has hurt you or harmed you, I'm at the point now where I'm like, what, time will tell. They're going to reveal themselves on their own accord. The masks are going to slip, right? They're going to be seen for who and what they are. A lot of them just don't care what people think of them, and there's just people around them enabling them. But, people eventually are going to figure out through their own experiences, or just pick up patterns and behaviours. They're going to figure out there's certain individuals around them cannot be trusted. And the thing is, as more light hits the planet, right, we're going through a collective consciousness awakening. Sorry guys, the lighting is really bad at the minute. Those that are, so certain people, they casually, will deliberately show that they don't have compassion. They don't give two shits about anyone, right? They even admit that they're out for themselves. They can't wait to get out of here. I hear it a lot with many people, right? And so they don't even hide it. But there is a part of them that is hiding, things as well. And so my point is, eventually they're just gonna become and show, well, not become, they're just going to eventually show all their true sides without hiding anything. And then people are really going to be like, right, yeah, no, I don't like that person, their energy is not good. Or they may just attack or harm other people, and eventually through that they'll know that they can't be trusted. So yeah, we're seeing that a lot. We're going to see more of that. So anyone or anything, any information that isn't authentic, is going to be triggered. Their masks are going to slip. They're going to reveal just who they are. Perhaps a lot of them, that's an agenda, right? They're just slowly revealing over time bits of their toxic behaviors in slow portions, right? Bite-sized portions. So people around them, don't notice that total shift from like being one way, fake, to completely just revealing their true nature, okay? And over time, just making excuses for them, right? Enabling them, flying monkeys and all that. And so then when they are their full self, nothing hidden, they're just going to be like, they're not going to notice. They're just going to be like, well, I've known this person for years, they're just, I don't know, or they've never treated me bad, but knowing full well that they've treated others around them bad, But again, they still continue to make excuses, defend them, enable them. And so, yeah, it's usually the authentic ones, those that have been victims. Usually we're the ones made to look like the troublemakers, the ones that can't be trusted. And again, it's a spiritual war, guys. We're seeing this. But yeah, eventually, we're gonna get to a point in the future where we're gonna know. I believe we're going to know who is to be trusted and who isn't. Now, with me sharing my experiences, and not particularly nice, when I'm sharing what my alters are up to, because clearly they're not always good people, right? It's putting my reputation at risk. But people need to realise that I am not I am me, okay? I'm not, right now I'm sat on the chair in my room, in my home, and I'm not being used when I'm here in the privacy of my own home. Like, I'm not being used by them. And so, you know, I don't want people to look at what I've shared and what I mean in my experiences and you know, and be like, and paint me in a bad, like I'm a bad person, because I generally am not. Yeah, but it's a lot, you know, when you're sharing your experiences, it makes you vulnerable, makes you wide open. It's anyone can take what I've just shared, and I know they will. See, told her she can't be trusted. She's doing all this. Zoe's doing all this when they're using her, mind controlling her. Who's to say she's not like that now? And she's, you know, deceiving everyone and, you know, and stuff like that. Like, I've got close people around me, and you know, and I've known them for years, and I've never treated them bad. I've never hurt them. Yeah, I'm not in my personal life me, this version of me, you know. If I am the original, I don't bloody know anymore. You know, I'm not bad. But anyway, I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to sit here and say that, because at the end of the day, you know, people are entitled to their thoughts and feelings and beliefs. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's all I want to say. I really am struggled today, guys. Digressing a lot and back and forth. Not so much like that when I just do a voice, but when it's like a video, I don't know why I'm like that. It's so weird. I guess I feel like there's more pressure, even though there isn't, right? I feel like I'm speaking to you, which I am, but I'm not. I'm speaking to a camera, but I am to you at the same time. So I don't know. It's so weird. But yeah, so I'll make sure there isn't anything else I've missed. Yeah, so yeah, that's just me being open, honest, really, and sharing those sides to me. That isn't my fault. You know, the trauma and abuse that we all went through, my labs, which was all by design, to fracture our minds. You know, we were all innocent. We are innocent in a sense. And then they take us, they compartmentalize our mind, and they take these alters to create assassins, right? Super soldiers, killers, spies, espionage people, whatever, you know. It's very complex, guys. It's very complex. But so yeah, that's the reason why I say I won't share a lot of my experiences, because they're not nice. They're not nice. And also as well, I have got no proof. I haven't got any proof to back up anything that I say. And so, but I guess it's sharing it again to just help encourage anyone, perhaps you, suspect you are in my lab or being used. Again, there are millions, have no idea that they are being used. Again, we're just pieces of the puzzle, and eventually if there's enough, we can put those pieces together. These people, the deep state, the elite, the cabal, the monsters, they don't care for any of us. We're nothing more than tools, weapons, playthings, assets. They don't care about any of us, as many of you know. But anyway, you know, take what you want from that, believe what you want, yeah, if you want to share, if you feel ready, you want to share your memories, your visions, your experiences, even your dream memories, right? Pay attention to your dreams, guys, especially if they're, you know, a common theme, feeling, you know, a common experience. 9 times out of 10, they're not dreams, they are memories, real-time memories. Okay, when we are asleep, we leave our bodies, or our consciousness and our minds, whatever our consciousness, our astral bodies, is taken. And some people think they're having these amazing dreams, right? And then you drop back off, often feeling drugged, confused. Sometimes you may have bruises on you, not feeling right, knowing that you been up all night and you didn't get any sleep, proper sleep, because you were doing things. Yeah, so just pay attention, guys. Keep a dream journal, write anything down. Perhaps me sharing my experiences, memories may trigger something within you. Start recording everything. I do believe eventually, not next year, but eventually that this information, people like me that we speak about, is going to come to light. Yeah, in some way or fashion, but I believe it's going to come out. But anyway, guys, I'm going to love you all and leave you all, and I'll speak to you all in a new upload. Take care, guys.